Welcome to the Eternal Series Radio. I am author Nate Parks, or Nathan Parks, and we've been doing the audio version of The Nephilim, which is my first novel in my Eternal series. And one of the things that several of the fans and readers have been asking for is for us to also just periodically do just a conversation, whether it be that I answer questions that have been submitted, whether I just talk about different projects that are going on, different things that are taking place in my world when it comes to writing the Eternal series or any other current projects that I'm working on. Before I really get started, I just want to say I hope that you are enjoying the Nephilim and the audio version of it. It is not meant to be, it is not edited. We do it live. So absolutely, when you listen to it, there'll be times where I'm reading it and I may mess up on a word or misread a word. And because we do this live, we don't have the opportunity to go back and actually edit it. And we really don't want to, because really we don't want an audiobook. Eventually, maybe we'll put the series into audiobook form. That is something that we took a look at trying to do this last year. We had some issues with the producer. We ended up having to cancel the contract with the producer because she was not doing what we were asking her to do. But we really want, what we're doing with the podcast is trying to have it where it's kind of like you're just sitting in a room with me or at a coffee house or a bookstore, and I'm just sitting down reading you the book. So just as if I were to do that live beside you, I might pronounce a word or read something incorrectly, and I would just fix it right there. So that's what we do when it comes to the audio version or the podcast version of the Nephilim. If you're not familiar with the Eternal series, I hope that you'll stick around. I hope that you will either follow us on the Spreaker or follow us on Spotify or the YouTube channel. You can also check us out. I have a Facebook group called Author Nathan Parks. I currently have a website up, but we are going to be taking that down only because we've noticed that there's not a lot of traffic that is really going to the website, even though we have it out on all of our books, our advertisements, things like that. But it does cost to keep it up, and it's something that we're trying to keep the costs down so that we can use our finances in better ways to bring you different experiences, I guess. And one of the things that when I started the Eternal series and when I started writing the Nephilim, I really from the beginning have done things differently than most people. When I first started writing the Nephilim, I published it myself. And the term indie author, which is really used a lot now, as far as I am aware, I had never heard of that, and it wasn't really used at the time that the Nephilim was written. The term self-published absolutely was. But ever since we have been working on the Eternal series, we've tried to do things differently. We've tried to involve the fans a lot, probably more than I know of any other author. We've always tried different stuff. I remember when I started a online forum where fans could write in. We had an online story line that was going, and we allowed the fans to create their own characters. That went on for a while. That was a fairly good success. Fans enjoyed it, but just as things normally happen, life changes, the internet changes, technology changes, and we got away from that. We've had fans create their own artwork. So I'm huge on making sure that the fans own the series. But if you're not familiar with the Eternal series, it is something that really started coming around, well, I would even say in the 90s originally. I have binders and binders of different versions of storylines, characters, ideas that ended up becoming what is now the Eternal series. It is a hobby of mine. It's something that I do when I have the opportunity. So the Nephilim was originally written early 2000s, started being written. And so with the Vapor and the Rise just actually being published this year, I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about my writing. So I know there's some people who will listen or read the Nephilim and they are entertained. I have a lot of people that enjoy it. But then when they get to the two other books that are currently out in the series, they absolutely fall in love with it even more. The series is based on the idea of angels and demons, but set in the mythology of vampires. A lot of people ask me, where do you get your inspiration? And that's a good question. It's something that I've always tried to answer, and when I do answer it, I don't feel like I can fully answer it to explain it in a way that I feel really, I don't know, describes or defines how my heart feels about it. Growing up in a very extremely religious home, and then in my teenage years, my early adult years, I began to really question a lot about what I believed, what is religion, who are we as humans. And so that's what really began, I think, to build the basis of what the series is about. The series is about questioning everything, and at the same time, becoming comfortable with who you are. The lead character, Eve, she's always spoke to me. I'm not sure why I've always had a strong female lead as soon as I started writing the series. But when I started writing, I really thought that she would speak more to me than anybody in this series. And in many ways, she does. But then as the other characters, such as Leah and Kadar, Isaiah and Troy, and then even later on Zarius in book 2, book 3, they really each spoke to me. And I know another question that fans ask a lot of times is, do you write about yourself, or do you write, where do you get inspiration for your characters? Do they come from other people? And my answer always to that is yes. Yes to all of that. I can see myself interwoven, the things that I've dealt with in my own life, but I think a lot of times when we read, we absolutely want to escape. And I think many times when it comes to fantasy books, which some people say that that's what this is, and I would agree, but I think it's even more bigger than that. I think the series is bigger than a fantasy series, but I think many times when it comes to this genre or style of writing, we forget humanity. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about, especially like The Next Generation, Star Trek to the Next Generation, even Deep Space Nine and Voyager. It dealt with really far out things, aliens and creatures and space and technology, but it never really lost the humanity and the soul searching of who we are and the creatures that we are. And that's what I really strive to connect with these books, whether you're talking about the demons or you want to call them vampires, whether you're talking about the Alliance or the angels, or even as I'm getting ready, I'm currently writing more backstory for this series, and I've gone really far back beyond what is even mentioned in the first 3 books. And when you start really talking about different beings in it, I really still try to touch it into a reality base that lets the reader feel as if they can really connect with whoever it is they're reading about. In my book, I try not to have, there's not a clear definition of what's good or bad, what's right or wrong. It shows that each character struggles with their own success, their own good, their own evil. If you want to label it that, you never can. I don't think you really find any character within the book that doesn't have elements of good and bad, because that's life. We have good times, we have bad times, we have ups, we have downs. We have moments where we think we know exactly where we're headed, and life throws us for a spin, and it turns us around, and we get all turned upside down and twisted, and we have to deal with it, and we have to make some decisions and choices on what we're going to do with that. And that's really what I try to capture within the book series. I'm a huge history fan. I love to look back over time and see how everything ties together. And so I really brought that into the Eternal series. There's so many different elements. Another thing, even though it's a fantasy series, I tried to create characters, that you could go do some research on and find out that they're actually interwoven into different cultures. And I think what that has done is it has allowed me to have a deeper sense of longevity. I don't know if that'd be the right way to explain it, but a deeper sense of longevity of the story and the mythology of it. A lot of people ask me, well, who would enjoy the book series? And I would really say, and it's hard to say, because I think no matter what, an author always wants everybody honestly to like their books. But I fully understand this series is not for everybody. I know that not everyone understands it. I think what I would ask people to do is at least give it a try, or at least talk to me, message me, connect with me and say, hey, this is the type of stuff I like to read. What do you think? Do you think that I would enjoy the book series? I've learned a lot since writing the Nephilim. When I first started writing it, I wrote a lot of stuff up front that trying to draw the readers in. Now when I go back and read it, I'm like, oh, I don't really like that. But it's out there. It's published. I'm not going to change it. But I would tell you, if you're not a fan of history, or if you don't like, really detailed stuff, before you start reading the series, I would say get the Nephilim and then just skip to chapter 1. Go through all, skip all the stuff that's up front, go to chapter 1 and start reading. I guess the thing that I really have enjoyed the most, because a lot of people ask me, well, what have you enjoyed about this series now that your first 3 books are done? And I will say, originally they were only going to be 3 books. But the universe of the Eternal series has really opened up to me. But the thing that I've enjoyed the most is getting lost in it myself. The way I write, I don't know what's going to happen. I know there are authors out there that swear by writing, an outline out and following the outline, or kind of loosely following the outline. And I don't do that. What I do is I've told people numerous times, and if you've ever heard me talk about the series, or you have talked one-on-one with me, or maybe you've heard a couple of other interviews that I've done in the past, one of the things that I do is I just kind of in my mind have this hallway that I go down, and at the end of the hallway is a door, and when I get to that door, I just stop and listen to see and to hear, just to listen to see if I can hear any of my characters on the other side of the door. And if I can, and I hear them talking, then I know it's time for me to walk through that door and start writing. And I don't get to tell the characters what to do. I don't get to, in a way, control the situation. What I have to do is follow and just annotate everything I see, hear, smell, or wherever the characters lead me. And the thing that I love about that is that I don't know where the story's going. There are things and elements within the series that I was shocked when writing it, that it went there, or something happened to a character, or a decision that a character makes. I was just probably as surprised as the reader was when it happened, because I didn't see it coming or wasn't aware. I just wrote what happened. So one of the things I want to do, with the Eternal Radio series, or Eternal Series Radio, is when I